People, what's going on? It's been about a week, hasn't it? Cheers. Shouting out love and support to the entire vinyl community worldwide. There are thousands of people in this community worldwide. We all don't know each other, and that's not necessary. But the vinyl community as a concept is alive and well, and it is owned by the world, and I love it. And thank you, folks who like me, like my videos. My subscriber base keeps growing. There's a piggyback into my other social media, and people are showing me a lot of support, love, and appreciation, and I appreciate it. Thank you for getting me, for feeling what you see here is real. Thank you very much for getting that. Thank you very much. You know, I keep thinking sometimes I want to shout out to people and then I'll forget them, and then they come after I turn the camera off. So I can't think who to shout out right now, okay? Except you all are magnificent. And I have watched a few videos. There's a real variety of people and styles that people are showing and ways of doing it. So everyone's covered. There's something for everyone in the vinyl community. It's really fantastic. It really is. So my review of the day is for a brand new album by a local band, Omaha band, The Broke Loose. This is their first recording. Who Are You Wearing? They went down to Tennessee, I think Memphis, or I can't remember if it was Nashville or Memphis, but they went and had it produced by Ken Coomer. If I've got it right, he was in Uncle Tupelo. 5 songs. The guys play in the style of, and I can say this because it does fit. These boys are Midwestern, and you can hear it. Their influences are there in the music. The Replacements, Wilco, Uncle Tupelo, bands like that. It's in their music, and it's also part of our life, you know, living in the Midwest. And this is pretty good. It's on colored vinyl. They're not all green. Some of them are on blue and blue speckle. I think one is red. They got the deal where, you get the leftover vinyl, so you never know what the color is going to be. These guys worked hard on this album, and they just had their record release party last night. I didn't go to it, but I heard about it. Sounds like it went well. I love playing with the drummer Tim. Tim really gives a lot. You know, he's really developed over the years. I've known him into a really decent drummer. I even though I've heard the lyrics of these songs, I don't really quite know what they're about, and I don't know what the cover is about. And I'm not sure that it actually relates to what they're singing about. But I recommend this, The Broke Loose. And like anything else, just Google them online, or if I remember to, I'll put a link to their, you can hear everything online. So you can hear for yourself if you want to get this, but I recommend it. Nice job, guys. Nice job. You know, in recent past, I've talked about things that were supposed to happen with me, with the hi-fi house, and things are happening, but not the way I want them to happen, not as quickly as I want them to happen. And so just stand by, because I'm on standby regarding some things, okay? Alrighty. Some records that are sitting out that I can show you, that I've listened to, and I'll tell you what I can about them. This first one, Susan Dahem and Richard Horowitz, part of the Made to Measure series. This one is entitled Desert Equations, Azax Atra. Now this woman, I get the impression that she's from the Middle East, or at the very least, some strong Middle Eastern folk music tendencies are throughout this album, although it is a very interesting mix of that and electronics and percussion. And even though this was made back, I think in the 1980s, 1985. This still sounds really quite contemporary. This sounds like it could have been made recently. It's really interesting. And she also works with her voice in a similar fashion to people like Meredith Monk and Diamanda Gallas, where she does guttural utterances and not actual words, truly using the voice like an instrument. If you can find this, and this is not one of those, it's not expensive. It's really good. You know, the funny thing about record collecting is that, I've said it before, but there are a lot of records that are worth a lot of money that are really not very listenable. And there's a lot of really amazing music that is just sitting out there waiting to be bought for $1. And that is how I've acquired a fair amount of these records over the years, is through being able to find stuff cheaply, looking for good stuff. And this is one example. Find a copy and tell me yourself after you've heard it. And the whole Made to Measure series, I've only got a few of these put out by Cramdisc, but I wish I could own the entire series. Everything I've heard on the Made to Measure series is, at the very least, very interesting. Pulled this out, hadn't played it in a long time favorite, one of my favorite musicians in the world, Ryuichi Sakamoto, B2 Unit, 1980, produced by Andy Partridge of XTC. Quirky, odd album, but Sakamoto has always, his entire career, he tries things to this day. You can't really nail him down because he's always trying new things. And this one is very angular, electronic, and dry. You know, Sakamoto is a master of melody, and on this album, melody is put to a minimum, and he makes it work. B2 Unit, love this album. Here's one that is collectible. Originals are collectible. They're hard to find. Sagittarius, Present Tense. The producers and musicians behind this are the same guys who were in the band The Millennium and also worked closely with the Association. And I think some of them actually worked with the Beach Boys. You can hear it. This is the classic sound of pop music in the late 60s and 70s. My World Fell Down. You may have heard of that song. But the whole album is pop-tastic. A lot of times this is described as psychedelic pop. There's really nothing very psychedelic about it except for the time that it came out of. It's just really excellent pop music, much like the Association, or even like the Carpenters, you know. And I love the Carpenters, okay? Just so you know, I have Carpenters records in the closet. The Carpenters were fantastic musically. They were. Ian Carr's Nucleus, in Flagrante Delicto, a live album from about 1977. British jazz musician who we lost in the last, I don't know, he's no longer with us. Trumpet player. But he truly helped to develop a true British style of jazz. And this is great. Some people, I'm thinking of Vince, when I showed this on YouTube, he said, well, that's that later stuff. It isn't disco, is it? And it made me frown right away, you know. It's like, it just, you know, Ian Carr has nothing but integrity. And this is not disco, and this is jazz with a funky beat and really great arrangements. And disco is fine too. My God, come on, people, with those old, worn-out attitudes. Music is music. If it's good, it's good. Here's an album that I sold and had the great fortune to be able to buy the actual copy back. Goblin, Profondo Rosso. Now, I have this sitting out. I haven't played it recently, but I pulled it out to show on Facebook to kind of vibe with everyone's really into Halloween. Now, I used to like Halloween, and I probably still do, but these last couple of years are, and right now in the world, is so strange that to me, Halloween right now isn't fun. The world is strange, like Halloween, but worse, for real. And everybody seems to not be aware. They're running away from reality and just running into fantasy and jokes. And, oh, humor is a good way of handling things. Well, that's fine, but we're not handling anything. All we're doing is making jokes and being childish. So I pulled this to vibe with the Halloween thing, but I'm not into Halloween right now. People are just really, we're just really failing at addressing our problems. We're just sinking in a sea of shit as a people. We are. It's true, whether you agree with me or not, we are. Just look at the world, okay? Buffalo Springfield retrospective. They were just so good, it's no wonder they broke up. How could Stephen Stills and Neil Young stay together? They were both so dynamic and strong in their personalities and what they were doing that I can see how they couldn't stay together. This is a fantastic album. Every song is wonderful. And the personalities of Steve Stills versus Neil Young are painted throughout here, so you can see the contrast. I love this album, Expecting to Fly. What an amazing song, okay? Nowadays, even Clancy can't even sing. We're not even talking about the big hit For What It's Worth. It's all this other stuff on here, Mr. Soul, Broken Arrow, please. Amazing album. Couple sips of coffee and I'm ready to go. I know there's stuff that I'm forgetting to share with you. Follow me on Facebook, okay, if you're interested in my daily, because I do post on there all the time. It's just a great way to be in touch with my family and friends, and it's like sitting on the back porch looking at the neighborhood. Anthony Phillips, Private Parts and Pieces, 1978. At the height of the commercialization of punk rock, this comes out pastoral, beautiful. Bought it at the time, listening to punk rock and Genesis and this at the same time, Fantastic. Anthony Phillips was probably the original genius of the band Genesis. Due to stage fright and stuff, he couldn't stay. But if you like the beauty and the true original heart of what made Genesis special, it's all throughout the work of Anthony Phillips. Here's a compilation of psychedelic singles from the 60s and 70s that is incredibly excellent. The Perfumed Garden No. 2. This came out in 1983 on Psycho Records. If you can find anything on Psycho Records, buy it. But this has a wonderful... All these songs are dynamite. It starts with No Home Today by Cult and ends with Turnover by Les Goths. There are no big names on this album, but everything on this is absolutely killer. The cover is too, but this is... You like psychedelia, you need to hear this. Healthy music. Music that's good for the body, soul, brain. Music that could actually be educational. And that's probably why it's not more popular. And maybe I'm not helping by telling you all these wonderful aspects of it, because we tend to like what's nasty, dark, and empty. That seems to be what's most popular with man, is emptiness, and substance is shunned. This band has a lot of substance. Oregon, Distant Hills. I think this came out in 1973. That's when I bought this album. I've had it since 1973. Ralph Towner, Colin Walcott, Paul McCandless, Glenn Moore. Stellar musicians who I first became aware of through the work of Paul Winter Consort. There's a crossover in sound between Paul Winter Consort and this band. Just beautiful. Just fantastic. Here's one that I think I got from Stefan Schipper. I think, Stefan, you gave this to me if you see this. German band. I think it's German in Feldfarben. They're singing it in German, which I don't understand, and I don't need to. This is kind of a jagged, almost punky rock album. And I quite enjoyed the last time I listened to it. The first time when I first got it, it was kind of hard to listen to. Almost any music can be absorbed well at the right time. I enjoyed this last time I played it. This is one of the greatest albums of all time. There's a similarity to this album to David Bowie's Black Star in that I can hardly listen to Black Star now because it just reminds me of David Bowie's death. Rock Bottom by Robert Wyatt was the first solo album he put out after he became paralyzed from the waist down and could no longer play drums. I remember buying this. This is my second copy. I don't know what I did with the first copy. But when it came out, the moodiness and the melancholy on this album, where he's sharing with you through the music, you know, you can feel the loss, you know what I'm saying? So it's a heavy but fantastic album. Rock Bottom, Robert Wyatt of Soft Machine, Matching Mole. Wonderful album. This has just gotten better with time. MBV by My Bloody Valentine came out a few years ago. When it first came out, the hype about it kind of fucked it up because there was so much hype. And when there's hype, it tends to inflate expectations, which is always a bad deal. This is just a world of its own, sound-wise, song-wise, songwriting-wise. I love My Bloody Valentine. This is really good. Really good. Got a bunch of records here, but I'm just going to go a couple more here. Have been revisiting Roots as a balm against the onslaught of the politics and the election year, which has been just insane. Another comment that I'll make is that due to my background and my education and my interest in human behavior and just the way things work, I am well aware of how America has been shell-shocked and traumatized by the media with its coverage of the election and the news in general. The focus is very negative and very self-serving of corporations and people who are profiting from our misery. You know, it's really unfortunate that we are have been conditioned to enjoy misery as entertainment, because that's all it is we're being entertained with our own misery, as opposed to being led in a direction of trying to find solutions, real solutions for everyone. So consequently, music from my past has been a real supporter and place to go so I can stay sane. One of my favorite albums of all time is After Bathing at Baxter's by the Jefferson Airplane. This is truly psychedelic. Truly psychedelic. And strange. And wonderful. And this is the whole deal. I've got the original insert. Yeah, I've got the whole thing. Love this album. I love the Jefferson Airplane. I really do. What led to this was listening to Surrealistic Pillow, which is sitting down here. Is it right here? Yeah. Both of these albums are just amazing, okay? In my opinion, the songwriting, the playing, the capturing of the times in the music, the essence of the changing of the guard that I experienced, you know, from a distance living here in Omaha. In the 60s, something was happening, and this music captured a lot of it. Consequently, a band that is as lauded, but I don't think is quite as good. Now, we're going to have differences of opinion, and that's fine. I like the Doors. I've loved the Doors. But this is just, some of this is kind of stiff, okay? Now, I'll tell you, in my opinion, the very best song on this album is The Crystal Ship. When I was a kid, before this came out, on one of my trips to the radio station, I received a bunch of promo singles, and one of them was Break On Through by The Doors, before Light My Fire was released. Now, because of the trauma that I went through becoming a Black Panther and destroying all my records, that got destroyed. But I had Break On Through on a promo 45 as a child, before The Doors became a hit. Crystal Ship is the best song on this album for my taste. A strange psychedelic album from the 69, I believe, The Head Shop. Don't know much about this album. Seems like the band is maybe Hispanic, or there are Hispanic members in the band. Strange album. I don't like the whole album. Matter of fact, there's a couple things in here that I think are dreadful. They do a cover. What is the cover they do that I think is just terrible on here? Sunny. It's terrible. Sunny by Bobby Hebb. It was a big hit in the 60s. Awful on here, but otherwise strange. And there are a couple of parts in here where it's so weird that it's memorable. I'll think of Psychedelia and I'll think of certain pieces of music and flashes of parts, and then it's coming from here. Interesting album. Get it if you can find it. Okay, guys, I've got just as many more records I could share, but it's 20 minutes, and I want to stop. I want to thank you again, folks, for your genuine appreciation and love. The folks whose eyes and hearts are open and not tainted. You can see what's real. And we stand together, not apart. Last thing I'll say is this. I am flabbergasted. A couple of my really close friends who are almost like family to me are staunch supporters of Trump. And it just baffles me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a Clinton supporter. I don't support either. I see through it all. I keep telling you that, okay? I see through it, you know, and what I see is there, you know. It's just mind-blowing how people can't see. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine here the other day about this stuff, and I was sharing with him some stuff I'd been through working in psych that he just couldn't believe. And he said, "Are you sure you're remembering that right?" And it just reminded me of the sad fact is that if you don't know it from experience, many things can be hard to believe. And so that's why one of the reasons why we continue to be fooled by public figures and people in power, because they can get away with murder, and they have been, and many of them do. And I've seen some of the wreckage of that with my own eyes. I've tried to share it with people, and they think that I'm, you know, that I'm nuts, you know. It's like, I was there, and I can call up all these other people who were there and tell you the same damn story. It relates to what I'm trying to say about politics, which is, I love my friends who are supporters of Trump, but they cannot make sense to me why they support him. And that, to me, is a shame, you know. I love these people, but I don't know what to say.